There's a conspiracy theory about Joe Rogan that refuses to die. No matter how many times it gets dismissed, it keeps coming back. The theory: Joe Rogan is controlled opposition. And before you dismiss it, let me show you why millions of people believe it, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. What controlled opposition actually means. First, let's define what we're talking about. Controlled opposition is when someone appears to challenge the establishment, appears to platform alternative voices, appears to question authority. But the ultimate effect is to contain dissent, redirect it, or make it look ridiculous. It's not about being directly paid by the government. It's about serving a function, intentionally or unintentionally. And here's where it gets interesting with Rogan. Whether he knows it or not, his platform performs this exact function. The pattern people notice. Let's look at what actually happens on Joe Rogan's podcast. He platforms controversial guests, people the mainstream media won't touch, conspiracy theorists, alternative health advocates, people questioning official narratives, and for 3 hours, they talk. Unfiltered. It feels like real conversation. But then what happens? Nothing. The conversation happens. It trends, clips go viral. Everyone talks about it for a week, and then nothing changes. No policies shift, no investigations open, no accountability happens. That's the controlled opposition function. Release the pressure valve, let people feel like they're hearing the truth, but contain it within an entertainment framework where it can't actually threaten power. The Spotify deal changed everything. Here's where the theory gets stronger. 2020, Spotify pays Joe Rogan $200 million for exclusive rights. $200 million from a publicly traded company, with shareholders, with board members. Do you think Spotify paid $200 million for a podcast that threatens their business relationships, their corporate partnerships, or did they pay $200 million for a podcast that looks rebellious but ultimately serves a containment function? After the Spotify deal, the show got noticeably different. Episodes started disappearing. Controversial guests became less frequent. The vibe shifted. That's exactly what controlled opposition looks like. Give someone enough money that they feel like they're winning, but structure the deal so they can't actually threaten the system. The guest selection pattern. Look at who Rogan platforms. Really look. He brings on conspiracy theorists, but never the ones with the most dangerous information, never the ones who could actually threaten power structures. He brings on health advocates who question vaccines, but he also brings on mainstream doctors to balance it out. The net effect? Controversy without resolution. Questions without answers. He brings on political dissidents, but never organizers, never people building actual movements, just individual voices expressing frustration. The pattern is consistent, controversial enough to attract attention, safe enough to not threaten anything. The COVID response. This is where the theory really gained traction. COVID-19, lockdowns, vaccines. Rogan questioned the narrative. He had on doctors who disagreed with official policy. He talked about alternative treatments. He pushed back on mandates. And the establishment freaked out. Mainstream media attacked him. Spotify employees tried to get him removed. But look at what actually happened. He apologized. He said he'd try to balance his coverage. He kept his Spotify deal. He kept his platform. A real threat gets deplatformed. Alex Jones, gone. Andrew Tate, gone. Rogan got a news cycle of controversy and then went back to business as usual. That's not what happens to genuine threats. That's what happens to controlled pressure valves. The function he serves. Here's the thing people miss. It doesn't matter if Rogan is consciously controlled opposition or not. What matters is the function his platform serves. Young men who don't trust mainstream media find Rogan. They hear alternative voices. They feel like they're getting hidden truth. And then what? They listen to 3-hour podcasts. They argue online. They feel informed, but they don't organize. They don't build alternative institutions. They don't create actual change. They consume content. They feel like they're part of something, and they stay politically neutered. That's the controlled opposition function. Channel dissent into consumption. Make people feel informed and rebellious while keeping them passive. The alternative explanation. Now, is there another explanation? Of course. Maybe Rogan's just a guy who likes interesting conversations. Maybe he's not controlled by anyone. Maybe the Spotify deal was just about money. Maybe the COVID controversy was genuine conflict. Maybe the pattern isn't coordination, just the natural result of being a massive platform balancing controversy with institutional relationships. That's possible, even likely. But here's what makes the controlled opposition theory stick. It doesn't matter if it's intentional. Whether Rogan is consciously controlled or just naturally serving this function, the result is the same. Dissent gets channeled into entertainment. Alternative voices get platformed but contained. People feel informed but remain passive. Why it won't die? The theory won't die because the pattern keeps repeating. Every time there's a major controversy, Rogan is there, platforming alternative voices, questioning the narrative, looking like rebellion. And every time, nothing changes. The controversy passes, life goes on, the system remains intact. People notice this. They notice that the guy with the biggest podcast in the world, the guy who platforms the most controversial voices, never actually threatens power. They notice that he got $200 million from Spotify and kept his platform during the biggest censorship push in modern history. They notice that mainstream media attacks him, but he never gets fully deplatformed like actual threats do. And they start asking, is this guy really a rebel, or is he serving a function? The bottom line. So is Joe Rogan controlled opposition? Honestly, it doesn't matter. What matters is the function his platform serves. And whether intentional or not, that function is containment. He gives people the feeling of access to forbidden information without the threat of actual resistance. He platforms controversial voices in a way that makes them consumable but not actionable. He channels dissent into entertainment. That's what controlled opposition does. And whether Rogan knows it or not, that's exactly what his platform accomplishes. The theory won't die because the pattern is real. The question isn't whether the pattern exists. The question is whether it's coordinated or emergent. And for the people noticing it, that distinction doesn't matter anymore. The effect is the same either way.